So it's super hard to appreciate yourself and your achievements if you keep focusing on the best of everybody else. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo. I'm the owner of Mojo Human Performance Institute, where we focus on mindset, lifestyle, and business hacking for driven mofos. The reason why I do these episodes is that most people will waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them. I want you to get out there, crush it, excel in business, excel in life, just do something epic. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So what we're talking about today is that it is hard to appreciate yourself when you're consistently comparing yourself with others. And it's so easy to do it in this day and age on social media, where you can get on there and you can see someone with a wicked body, and then you see someone else who's got, lots of money and they're sitting on a yacht or they're on a private beach somewhere, and then you see someone who's got amazing kids and your kids are sitting there screaming and throwing food at each other. And it's so easy to get caught up in this world of self-comparisons. But it is so mentally destructive, and it will never help you to achieve the life that you want. Something that I have come to terms with, and it's only really probably been this year, is to look at everything that I do as being an improvement. How can I improve? Just a little bit. Or how can I just start? And the other day was a prime example of this, where I woke up in the morning and I've been wanting to run for a fair while now. It's probably been 6 to 8 months. And I had really bad shin splints. I've had really bad shin splints for probably about 2 to 3 years, but I've had shin splints ever since I was about 13 years of age, to the point where I could run probably about 200 meters and I would get shin splints. So anytime I could do a 100-meter sprint, I was sweet. Like when I used to play Aussie rules football back in the day, if you could put the ball out in front of me, I would sprint, get the ball, kick it, and then I'm good. But if I had to do laps around the oval, I would almost have to crawl by the first lap because my shins were just about to explode. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. There was a whole bunch of things. There was some psychosomatic stuff going on. There was also, I noticed that when I eat shitty food of a night time, I noticed that they were worse the next day. Now, whether that was because of lymphatic drainage or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, this isn't a health podcast. This is about business and mindset. Actually, it's my podcast, so I can do whatever the fuck I want, I guess. But it's not the podcast to talk about, to bring out all my health stuff. But this had been going on for ages. So anyway, I started doing a lot of rehabilitation on my shins, which had helped a lot. And I was doing a lot of like mobility work, a lot of tissue work. And so my shins were getting better and better and better. And there was a point where probably about 6 months ago, even going for like a 20-minute to a 1-hour walk would just blow my shins apart, and I couldn't walk for almost 2 or 3 days afterwards. So I'm doing all this work and I kept thinking, I want to go for a run because they're starting to feel good. So I bought these awesome brand new shoes, and they just sat there. And every morning I would walk into the walk-in robe and I would see the shoes sitting right there in front of me and I'd go, I should go for a run today. And I never did. And I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Anyway, I remember waking up and it was early in the morning and I'm just lying there. And I was thinking, why is it that people just start something new? And how do they start something new? Like, they're not good at it. So why do they start when they're already going to start shit? And other people, when they're adults, have already potentially been doing something for years. And for me, it was just a thought that I had around a friend of mine who had started drag racing. And I thought, why would he go out and do drag racing when it's a skill set that he's never got and he's competing against people that have probably been doing it for 20 years or so, maybe even 30 years? Why would he do it? And then I thought, well, because the race isn't against them, it's against himself, and it's him just getting better every time. If he just focuses on the number and his team focus on doing things better, just a little bit better. And it was just it was a bit of a weird dream because I'd never really thought about it that way. And I went, this is interesting. And then all of a sudden, the idea of running popped into my mind again. And I thought, why am I stopping myself from running? Well, I didn't want to run because I felt like if I ran and went for a run, the potential of me getting my shin splints back was really high. And so I was worried about it. It was like a week before an event. And so I didn't really want to, do it because I'm going to stand up a couple of days straight and my shins are sore and my legs are sore and I can't walk properly. And so I just started thinking about all this shit. And I was like, well, hang on, stop. All I have to do is if I run from my house to the next door house, I did better than what I did last week. So I'm getting better. That clicked in my head and it was like my whole life fucking changed in that moment. It literally did. You know how sometimes you just have a thought and that thought just makes everything make sense? Now, I'd never thought about it this way. Like, here I am, the mindset guy, and I know I say in my events consistently, it's the small, seemingly insignificant things done on a regular basis that achieve the greatest results. So I say that in our Thrive Time event consistently. And I know that this is true because I remind myself of it every day. But I never thought about that whole thing of just all I've got to do is a little bit better than yesterday. Never really even crossed my mind. I'd thought about it, but it never had that big aha moment. Everything in life makes sense now sort of thing. So anyway, I got up, came downstairs. It was early in the morning. I think it was 5:30 or 5 o'clock or something. Grabbed my running shoes, chucked on my clothes and all that shit, had a coffee. And then I thought, fuck it, I'll go warm up. So I'm lucky enough, I've got a gym at home. So I went into the gym, rode on the air bike, did some mobility work and everything like that. And then I just started running. And what I found straight away was it was amazing because it didn't matter how far I ran. It wasn't about the end goal. It was just about being a little bit better, doing something a little bit different than what I'd done the day before. Once I did that, I got home and I was so proud of myself. Well, actually, I won't say it was proud. It was just a moment where I went, you know what? If I just implemented that across so many different areas of life, imagine the difference in the quality of my life. But also I started realizing that for a lot of my life, I had this self-comparison between myself and others. Now, it wasn't as bad as most other people's because it was when I was younger, but most of my 30s, I'm 38 at the moment, but most of my 30s I learned to not compare myself as much as what I used to others. Still do a little bit. But what I realized was that if I just focused on me and being a little bit better every day and doing something a little bit better, like instead of having 5 coffees a day, just have 4. And if I have 4 today and I have 4 tomorrow and I have 4 the day after, then it's better than having 5. And then, not that I have that many, normally I have 3 a day, but that's about it. But I could do the same thing with food. That instead of trying to go for the perfect diet all the time, which I sometimes do, I get caught in that trap of really trying to eat clean all the time, and then having a pizza and going, fuck it, I might as well just have chocolate as well, which I do sometimes. If I could just go, well, you know what, last week I had takeaway twice. And you know what, maybe this week I'll just have it once. And if I do that for the next month, then I'm already doing better than the last month. And if I just look at things like that, now, by the way, sometimes it depends on what I've got going on in my schedule to how often I eat and where I eat and all that stuff. But my point is that if I'm just doing things that are a little bit better and I'm making a little bit better decisions consistently, whether it's over a week or whether it's over a month or whatever you want to do it, life just changes. And since that moment, it has just been phenomenal. It was a phenomenal change in my life. And also my appreciation levels went up, my fulfillment levels went up because I wasn't competing with anyone else. All I was doing was just a little bit better every day for me. And it was a game changer. So for anyone here who's listening to this, who has self-comparisons and tries to compare yourself with others, the more you do that, the more you don't appreciate yourself and you'll beat yourself up. The lack of appreciation you'll have from my own experience and from working with probably tens of thousands of other people, you'll have a lack of appreciation for others as well. And I even see this with a lot of high performers where nothing is really ever good enough and they're always critical of others. The more critical you are of others, it's normally because you're critical of yourself. When you're pissed off at others, it's normally because you're pissed off at yourself. When you're frustrated at others all the time, it's normally because you're frustrated at yourself. When you don't think that other people around you are doing good enough, it's normally because you feel like you're not doing good enough as well. So normally the way you respond and react with others is also because of how you react and respond with yourself. Now that's not always the case. Sometimes, if people aren't picking up their weight and you have an expectation, sometimes you've got to give people a good kick in the bum or, give them a bit of a blasting to wake them up to the problems or let them know what's going on. Different people deal with things in different ways. But what I'm getting at is that if you really learn how to appreciate yourself and you just look for those small incremental gains every week or every month, and you're doing things a little bit better than what you were, then you're staying in your own lane. And the only way you can win a race is by staying in your own lane. You will never compete with anybody else. You'll just compete with yourself. Now, I learned this years ago. It makes more sense now knowing this. But what I used to do was when I was younger, I used to think that I had to be like everybody else because then that would mean that I would fit in and be liked. But that wasn't a good strategy. Then I went through a stage, probably my late 20s to, 30s or so, where I realized that I use other people for inspiration. You don't need to look up to others. You just need to see them and go, what are they doing well? How are they doing it well? How can I, do that in my own life? But sometimes that does creep in as well, where you do start to look up to others and you start to depreciate yourself. But what I've noticed is the more and more that I stay in my own lane, the easier it is to appreciate myself, which then means it's easy to appreciate what others do well. And then when you do that, you can create better relationships, better friendships with people because you work at things like joint ventures or adding value to each other. And you can appreciate what people do well, and you can also see their gaps as well, which means that you're better at business. Also, there's things that you do in life that you'll be better at as well. But I think overall, the more you appreciate yourself, the more you appreciate everything else around you. And if you don't appreciate yourself, you'll depreciate. And if you don't appreciate yourself, you won't appreciate others. And if you don't appreciate others, it means you depreciate the people around you. Now, if you don't appreciate yourself and you don't appreciate others around you, then your bank account probably won't appreciate, which means go up in value. It'll probably go down in value. And so you'll probably have a depreciating bank account, which means that your life is full of liabilities and shit that you waste money on instead of having things that consistently grow and expand. Remember, the word to appreciate means to grow in value. When things depreciate, they go down in value. When you don't appreciate yourself, you go down in value. When you don't appreciate people around you, they go down in value as well. When you don't appreciate your business, that goes down in value. And something that Jess and myself have been catching ourselves is that anytime we complain about something that happens in the business, we stop each other, hold them accountable and go, what's the actual problem and how do we deal with it? No complaining. Because when you do that, you start to depreciate the business. And when you do that, the business stops working effectively. We did it for years and it fucking crushed the business. It stopped the business from working. You probably heard some of the past podcasts where we'd get out of bed in the morning, we'd just complain about all the shit that wasn't working. And then our whole day was this big, heavy, weighted thing that sucked. And it was like, oh, well, when we get here, then the business will be better and life will be better. And it was always shit. The business wasn't shit because the business was shit. The business was shit because our mindset was shit, and that reflected into the business. So once we changed the mindset of how we approach the business, everything changed. And now I love it. I wake up, I bounce out of bed in the morning and off I go. And same as Jess. But when we start complaining, we pick each other up on it and hold each other accountable, because things that don't appreciate, depreciate. And you don't want a depreciating business. You don't want depreciating people around you. You want appreciating people who go up in value. Because when you do that, everything around you got up in value. Anyway, I hope this helps Driven Mofos. If you haven't already done so, if you're a business owner, please jump across to our No BS Business Hacks group in Facebook. All you need to do is go to the search bar, type in No BS Business Hacks. I post stuff in there daily. So every day I'm posting tools or templates or things like that you can use and implement in your business. Also, you get to connect with other business owners. You can ask questions, there's Q&As. And so we just deliver massive value in that group. That's where I give away a lot of value and all that stuff as well, and do trainings, monthly webinars or super classes. So please jump across in there and check it out if you haven't already done so. And also please remember to share this and rate and review it as well if you haven't already done so. Anyway, never underestimate the dream, Driven Mofos. Keep pushing hard, keep achieving. And also, if anyone's got any questions or you need anything, reach out on social media. My threads are MichaelMojo00 on all our social media platforms. Anyway, take care, Driven Mofos. Have a great day.